welcome to my channel. If you're new here, then my name is Susanna and I do all Ninja Foodi recipes for you. The reason for this video is if you are new to having the Ninja Foodi, maybe you've had it a week or so, maybe you've had it longer, but you've just not really got to grips with using it. Here are 5 recipes that I recommend that you make first using your Ninja. It will really give you the confidence to move on and create more and more different meals. And these ones are really easy and I think foolproof. So I choose a Maris Piper potato just because I think they are the best for making roasties. When I cut my potatoes, I like to cut them on a slight angle, gives you a little bit more surface area so you get a little bit more crisp. You want decent sized roast potatoes, I always find. I don't like anything too small, but I don't like anything too big. Sounds really fussy, doesn't it? But you know, we're all trying to strive for the best roast that we can make. So my water's coming to a boil. I'm gonna add a generous amount of salt into the water there. These are gonna need around 5 minutes. Whilst those potatoes are parboiling, we're gonna get some oil in the bottom of the pan. Be quite generous with it. It's gonna make all the difference. It's gonna make them taste delicious. To me, if you're gonna bother roasting potatoes, accept that they're not the healthiest thing for you. Start off by getting this warm. So I'm gonna put this onto bake and turn the temperature right up. So we want that really hot when the potatoes go in. Right, let's drain these potatoes. Now, one of the key things here that we need with a potato is to make it a perfect roast. Water and oil do not mix together. These need to be steam dried just like this. So we're getting the air to come around them, the moisture to evaporate like so. And that way, that when that hits that oil, it's gonna start cooking and crispening up. We don't want them wet and soggy in the oil. It's just not gonna work. Okay, so I put the lid on and then we give them a little rough up. So just toss them about in the pan. This is the easiest way as far as I'm concerned. You can keep checking them. Look, they're roughed up a little bit, but if you want a bit more, go with a bit more. I like to add a little bit of corn flour onto my potatoes as well. And I find that this just helps them crispen up a little bit more, but this is completely optional. I'm gonna pop on some rosemary, just some dried rosemary here. Going to also season them with a little bit of sea salt. I can obviously put some more on afterwards. And then in for roasting, I'm gonna pop in some garlic for some flavour. As you can see, they've got quite a lot of space around them. The oil is sizzling. So the oil is super hot. I have tossed those in the oil, as you can see, so they don't look as floury now, just to coat them all over with the oil. Now let's get that on to bake. I'm gonna let them bake in the Ninja for about 20 minutes and we will check them. Give them a little toss around in the oil, starting to get some colour and starting to go nice and crispy, but they've still got a bit of time left. These look fantastic. Okay, let's pop them into this bowl. Can you hear the crunch that we've got on them? So they had a little bit longer because I just wanted a little bit more colour on them. So they had 22, 23 minutes. Oh, these are absolutely gorgeous. Look at those. What they need is a little sprinkle of salt. Now I use just some vegetable oil. Of course you could use duck fat, goose dripping, you know, whatever you want. But these are still very warm. Which one should we go for? Let me just show you. Look at that. Right, really easy start. We're just gonna grab a bowl here. I've got my scales underneath, so I'm gonna pop those on. And in this mixing bowl, we're gonna combine the flour with the yeast and then some warm water. So I'm using some strong white bread flour, which is ideal for this. And we need 500 grams. So let's measure that out. Yeast, we've just got some fast action dried yeast here. It comes in the little sachets. I'm sure you've all seen this before. Okay, so pour in the yeast. I've got 300 millilitres of water. Now you want to make sure that this is just lukewarm. So now that goes into the bowl as well. We need olive oil, and I'm going to use 2.5 tablespoons. Trying to be quite accurate with this. Obviously we want the bread to turn out really nice. We also want some salt as well to season this. Before I start combining this together, this is a little bit of a secret ingredient as far as I'm concerned. I've only ever made the bread like this, but I've heard that if you add 1 egg, then it really does lighten the texture. So let's try it. Pop an egg in at this stage. Now we just need to give this a really good mix together. If it needs it, we can just add an extra sort of 1/2 tablespoon at a time of flour, just to get the texture right. Obviously we've added that egg, so we may need slightly more flour, we will see. So we've got a nice springy dough here. This is perfect, just as we want it. So in the Ninja, I've got my bowl, and then I've got the crisper basket, the air fryer basket. I've put a little bit of parchment paper in the bottom of that. And now we're going to transfer our dough into there. We have got proof. The temperature comes up automatically at 35, which is exactly what we want. And we're going to increase the time up to 60 minutes. All that we've got to do is just press start. First proof is done. Whoa, that is big. It's bigger than I expected. Look at that. So we now take the basket out. Look at that. I now need to add 250 mils of water, and that goes in the bottom in the pot. Now we want to deflate this, which seems such a shame, doesn't it, when it's just absolutely huge and looks great. So yeah, just be gentle with it, but just push it back slightly. Just knocking a little bit of that air out that we've just created. Okay, so now basket back into the pot. Lid down, and we're going to do a second proof. We're going to keep it on at 35, and then we're just going to increase that and just do a little bit less this time, so 50, and press start. Right, the time is up. It's had the 2 proofs, and look at that. That has most definitely doubled in size. That looks brilliant. So let's close that lid back down. We're going to slide over to the middle option, which is the combi steam. And then we want to select steam bread, which is this last one here. Put the temperature up slightly. I'm going to go with 180, and we're going to set the time to 20 minutes. Okay, let's go. Right, that is just finished, so we should be able to slide that over so that we can open the lid. Oh, you should see this. I'm going to get it out of here. Look at that crust. Lovely and golden and crispy. Let's take a closer look at that. Wow, that has risen up so much. I never expected the loaf to be that big. You look how deep the pot is. That is a huge loaf of bread. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to allow that to cool for about ½ hour. Look at that. Look how light and airy that is. You've got all of these beautiful air holes in here. It's squidgy. It's got a nice crust on it. It's come out perfect. So I've got a large chicken here that I've unwrapped. I've obviously just kept it covered, and I've just brought that up to room temperature. So that's been out for, say, an hour roughly. I'm keeping the ingredients really simple with the flavours. So I've just got some water here that we need in the bottom, because obviously we're steaming it, and some lemon. Ideally I'd have 2 lemons juiced, but you know, I've already got 1 lemon, so that's fine. We'll use that and we'll juice that. Use fresh herbs if you've got them. Thyme, rosemary. I haven't today, so I'm just going to go with some dried thyme, salt and pepper, and then I'm going to go and grab some garlic as well. Let's start by adding the water into the pan. So this is the Ninja bowl that I've got here. Let's chop up our lemon, and then we can give that a juice. Got a little juicer here, give that a good squeeze. You could even just chuck these in the bottom, to be honest. As I haven't got another lemon, let's just use this and bung that in the bottom here. I'm going to use a crisper basket and put the chicken into that. So we don't want anything too large in the bottom because it will just obstruct it. So pop those in. To be honest, it doesn't really matter if the seeds went in. It's not like you're going to be eating it. But lemon juice into there as well. If you've got fresh garlic, then use that. But today I have just got garlic like this. Pop that in. This is just for flavour. Imagine this steaming up. Oh, it's just going to make the chicken smell and taste so good. So some thyme in the bottom there as well, being quite generous with the thyme. Give that a swirl around. And that is your liquid done for the bottom. Now in with the crisper basket. Now I'm using a large chicken, so that does fit in there. This is a nice big bowl, isn't it? So large chicken works very well. That was at nearly 1.8 kilograms, that one. I've just washed my hands, obviously I touched the raw chicken, and I forgot to add in the peppercorns. I was going to put salt and pepper just on the chicken, but actually I think whole peppercorns would work really well in here. So let's just poke those down the side so that they go into the liquid. And then next job is I'm going to rub some olive oil over the chicken. So I'm just going to pour it on like that. Get a pastry brush, whatever you can use your hands if you want to, and just get that skin covered in that oil, and that's what's going to help it to really crispen up. You could use a different oil, it doesn't have to be olive oil, it just happened to be what I've got. I know a lot of people like to use avocado oil, vegetable oils. And then onto that skin, I'm going to add some salt as well. And we just need to move the slider across. So we're on to combi steam, and then we want to steam air fry. Some people also call this steam crisp, but the actual term is steam air fry. I've set the temperature to 185, and then I want to give this 55 minutes. And I pray that I've got this right and that this is going to be the best chicken ever. Only time will tell. Well, actually, 55 minutes is all we've got to wait. Let's press start and hope for the best. Now, it's going to need to get to pressure, so you just literally have to wait for this to happen. Normally, when I've cooked other things, you're looking at around 10 minutes-ish, and then it will start counting down from there, and then that's when your 55 minutes will come in. Now it's counting down. Wow. Look at that, beautifully crispy skin. Gonna leave that to rest now. I've let the chicken rest, and actually I've let this almost cool as well. I'm absolutely terrible at carving, but I just wanted to kind of show you how good this is. Literally these legs are just pulling apart so easy. Look at that tender flesh here. Oh, crispy skin. Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness. You can have a little taste. Be rude not to, wouldn't it? Look at this. This might be my best method yet. Oh my goodness, look. It's still really moist in there. Oh my god, look, you can see the juices down here. I don't know if you can see that. Let's bring it up. See all the juices. Yum, yum, yum. Roast chicken has got to be one of my favourites. This is moist. Look at that. This is the way forward. Got my beef on sear and saute. So this is just some low-fat beef mince. So I'm just frying that off to start with. Gonna add some black pepper. Lots of seasoning is always good. And then also some salt. I've got some dried oregano, which I'm going to add in. You can use fresh garlic if you prefer, but I'm going to actually just use some garlic granules. If you want to, you can add an onion in, but at the moment I'm avoiding onions and fresh garlic. But yeah, it'd be really lovely with some onion in this, so add it in at this stage with the beef, and you can just kind of fry that off at the same time. Already that's starting to smell really nice. If you've watched my other videos, you've probably heard me talk about this before, and this is just chopped basil, but it is frozen, so straight out of the freezer. You can add some in, and I think this stuff is amazing, really good. I'm gonna pop a little bit of Worcestershire sauce in, about that amount, and around a tablespoon of tomato puree. Don't need to cook that any further because we're going to actually put this under pressure. So I've turned the sear and saute off. So I'm going to spread that out so we've got a fairly even layer in the bottom of the Ninja pot. To that, I'm going to add some chopped tinned tomatoes, then also some passata. On top of that, I'm going to add my spaghetti, and I'm going to lay that out in a fairly evenish layer. I've broken that just in half so it fits. And then I've got 350 millilitres of stock. I've chosen beef stock because this is a beefy dish, so that makes sense to me really to use that. So what we don't do is we don't mix it. We can just push the pasta so that it is covered. Make sure that your vent is on seal. Slide across to pressure cook. We definitely want to cook this on high. Now with spaghetti, it's normally about 10 minutes, so I think 5 minutes under pressure. We normally do about half the time, don't we? That should be enough. I'm a bit debating whether to do 5 or 6. I think 5 is going to be enough, so I'm going to stick with 5. Let's hope I'm right. And we want a quick release on this. Let's go. Now the sauce will always look really runny when you first open the lid, so don't be panicked by that. We now just need to mix it in. The spaghetti is al dente, so if you want it cooked more, go with it a little bit longer. Gonna add a little bit of cream. The quantities were good. We haven't caught on the bottom, which is exactly as we wanted it because that would not be good. You can also at this stage add in some parmesan. Got my bowl and my scales. We need 225 grams. It's going to be equal amounts of butter, sugar and flour, so really easy to remember. This is room temperature. This has been softened quite a bit. She's going to make it a lot easier to give that a mix. I try and make something sweet once a week. It's great for when you've got people coming over, and also like lunch boxes, that type of thing. And into that we're going to add our sugar. And again, 225 grams. Now you're going to want to just cream this together. I normally use my food processor. I was being a little bit lazy and not getting it out, so it's going to take a little bit more time to do it by hand, but it won't take too long. Now that is creamed together really nicely, I'm going to grab a jug and then we're going to crack our eggs into here. We need 4 eggs, and I'm using medium-sized eggs for this. And now we can incorporate these eggs into our butter and sugar. And again, we want 225 grams. And then a half teaspoon of baking powder. Also into that, we want to zest a couple of lemons. I haven't got the best zester here, if I'm honest. I always hate having to do this job. I think it's because this isn't very effective, but you can see how much zest I've got. So now I just want to fold in that flour, just go easy with it. Right, so this is my tin, 8 inches across here, and then I've just literally lined the bottom. This is a springform one like this, but it doesn't really necessarily have to be. Helps if it's loose bottom though, doesn't it? It helps it to come out easier. So in the pot here, we're using the crisper basket stand so that it just raises the cake up enough off of the water, but it's going to steam beautifully in there. When I've done this before, I found that there wasn't enough liquid. So I'm going with 700 millilitres in the bottom here. And this is from a recently boiled kettle. Great. It doesn't come up too far. What I found before is that actually I run out of liquid, and therefore if you run out of liquid, obviously it's going to stop steaming, isn't it? So cake on top. I'm just going to try and flatten that off a little bit. Just need to move this across to the center, and then we have got steam bake just here. And the temperature I'm looking for is 160. So just move that up to 160. And then time-wise, I'm gonna go with 25 minutes. Obviously it's gonna take a while to come up to pressure to build up that steam. So it's probably gonna take more like sort of 35 minutes in total. So whilst that is cooking, I thought we might as well make our gorgeous sugary lemon syrup that's gonna drizzle into this. Now I've got a jug and I'm gonna use sugar up to 100 mils. And I'm using granulated for this because it gives you that gorgeous crust on the top of the cake, which really makes a lemon drizzle. If you use caster sugar, you won't get that. And now all I do is juice the lemon. And really you just want enough lemon juice so that you're able to loosen this up. Okay, so pour in the lemon. And let's just give that a little mix. You can have a look there. Oh, perfect, look at that. Okay, so we're finished. Let's slide this across and get inside and have a look. Oh, lovely and golden on the top. That looks absolutely brilliant. I'm gonna lift that out, and whilst it's still hot, let's get that drizzle on. Here we go. So I believe that was exactly the right quantity of water to put in the bottom, because literally there was only a tiny amount left. So this has been fully steamed. Now what I'm gonna do is just use my skewer here, and I'm gonna go round and put loads of little holes in this. It seems really light, you know, you can tell when you put your skewer in how light, it's like almost bouncy. And now just pour that over. It's really important to do this when it's hot because it is gonna then soak in. I'm gonna leave this in the tin to cool, but look, you can see that sugary crust that's starting to form on top of the cake. I am so pleased with how this has turned out. Came out really easily from the tin. Having that parchment on the bottom really, really does help, so make sure that you do that. I think that's absolutely stunning.